Carl, it seems that one of the main issues still is the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Uh, How do you feel about the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia? Is that going to be one of the key points for the negotiations, or is Russia interested in negotiating or somehow compromising on the case of nuclear power plant, or they have just decided they made their mind?
If you're going to flow into the more optimistic appraisal that Larry just gave, and I'd love to see that happen, then you've got to talk about how you're going to share energy sources and how you're going to make them beneficial to both sides, I think. So once the rancor dies down a little and once, responsibility is firm and it's putting out the power that it should be putting it out in a safe and normal fashion, so to speak, then it should be shared. And it should be shared on both sides of the, line, whatever the hell winds up, the fence, whatever winds up being the sort of thing we talk about dividing the neutral Ukraine, non NATO member Ukraine, non sponsored by European powers Ukraine, and Russia.
Yeah.
Got to be, it's, we haven't even talked about one of the biggest things that's haunting everybody in this. And that's one thing I would sort of fault John about in his lecture about I'm picking on John this morning, but it was a really good lecture. It struck me as me in a William and Mary classroom, with magic at my fingertips, my theory and everything. We're not even looking at what's happening right now in the world, real time, with regard to the climate crisis. It is becoming very serious. We just passed the mark, if you will, in Fahrenheit temperature increase, beyond which there's no return. We're going to start suffering big time. I'm going to die before mid-century comes and the real crux comes. But all of this stuff is going to have to be taken into consideration. People like Trump, who say the climate crisis is a hoax, have to go. We have to get rid of them. And we have to start doing the things that we need to do to convert what is colossally polluting to what is minimally polluting and then not polluting at all or as close to it as we can get. And Zaporizhia and other places, at one time I was not a real fan of nuclear power, one, because all the scientists told me it was too expensive. But we're getting to the point now where we can probably do it for about 50% of the cost in the past. This is an old complex, if you will, but it's got to be a part of the transition to the future. And I think nuclear power now has to be a part of the future, whether it's fusion power in some new incarnation or fission power or a combination of the two or whatever. But it does have to be a part of the package along with wind and solar and other things we might invent. But we have to get moving. And these things like Ukraine and like Gaza, for example, and Syria and Lebanon and elsewhere. By the way, I saw yesterday where the IDF published these figures. Israel has not gone a day of the ceasefire in Lebanon without killing multiple people. Not a single day. We've got to stop this crap, and we've got to get on more serious stuff. And Zaporizhia is just a symbol of that. There has to be a sharing.
Yeah, Larry, Donald Trump, it seems that he gave the green light to Israel to attack Lebanon. And after the assassination right now, what Israel will do with the attack? Are they going to go underground? Are they going to, some aerial bombing of Lebanon? What do you expect? You know,
Well, what does it accomplish other than killing some people on the ground? We don't have a single example apart from the use of nuclear weapons or the atomic bomb in Japan, in both Nagasaki and Hiroshima, where dropping bombs would actually change or force an outcome to a conflict. So all the bombing we did in Iraq, all of us shock and awe campaign, ditto for Afghanistan, same in Syria. You ultimately have to put troops in on the ground, and that's where Israel's deficient. I argue their army is an undisciplined group of murderers. and they've demonstrated their incompetence by they had an area of about 140 square miles. If I'm calculating, 5 by 25, roughly, in Gaza, that over a 2-year period, they couldn't actually physically take control of it, pacify it, and defeat an insurgent force. They failed. All they could do was create a lot of rubble, create homeless people, kill a lot of civilians. But you're supposed the military force is supposed to be only one component of all of what's broader politics. Where once the fighting's over, can you get on with the rule of governing? Which means, can you pick up the trash? Can you restore civil services? Water, sewage, turn on the lights, keep electricity running. Just some basic things. Or, in other words, just prolong the suffering. Israel's great at prolonging suffering, but the notion that they're going to, they keep talking like they're going to go into Lebanon again. They've done it before in the past, and they keep, getting driven out ultimately because and particularly Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not looking to provoke a fight right now, but if attacked, they'll fight back. And they'll inflict damage on the Israelis. Israelis will inflict damage on Hezbollah, but it doesn't bring it to a peaceful end. So Israel right now it's shedding population. Its economy is not doing well. It's got severe PTSD among a large number of reservists. There's there's no upside. So yeah, will they continue to do this? Yeah, probably, but I noticed that the papers in Alistair Crook's wife, Aisling, sent around her summary of the Hebrew press, and they realized that any hopes of an Abraham Accord and cordial relations with Saudi Arabia, that's dead. That's in the past, and that Israel is, finding itself increasingly isolated. It's not going the opposite direction.
Carl, it seems that the Trump administration has failed to convince the government in Lebanon to go against Hezbollah, to disarm Hezbollah. And right now they're changing the policy, giving the green light to the government in Israel to attack them. How is that going to influence internally? Because before we had this war on the ground between Hezbollah and Israelis on the southern part of Lebanon, there was no government in Lebanon. Right now, there is a government in Lebanon, and they were trying to somehow cooperating with the West, being connected to the West. And how is that going? How do you see that would benefit? Do you think that by forcing the government in Lebanon to react to what's going on in the case of Israeli intervention, is that going to help the position of the United States and what they want to get from Lebanon?
Well, you left out that we built the most expensive embassy to date in Lebanon as a headquarters for the CIA, MI6, and Mossad. And you also left out the fact that Bibi Netanyahu would love to run the Israeli flag up over the government building in Lebanon and own Lebanon. And you left out the fact that every time the Israelis bomb Lebanon, they don't just bomb Hezbollah or targets that are terrorists, as they would say. They bomb their economic infrastructure because they don't want Lebanon to become what it was in the past, the real Paris of the Eastern Mediterranean. They know the capability of the Lebanese people if they were left alone, economically, trade, and otherwise. And so they'd like to destroy Lebanon, or at least keep it down to the level where it can't be a productive economic power, and run the gas and the oil and things that they have legitimately found in the part of the Mediterranean that belong to them. And oh, by the way, Israel's taken over, along with everything Gaza had too. And don't forget, Israel's going to war with Iran. And if you're going to go to war with Iran, you might as well take Hezbollah out too. So yeah, I think Netanyahu is still on the war horse he's been on all along. And I don't think Donald Trump is anywhere but on the rump of that horse with him.
Colonel, they have sent a fighter jet invading the Iraqi airspace, getting close to the Iranian border, which was the fighter jets was refueled by American planes.
Yep. We just had let a contract with Boeing for 14 or 15 more. We had 2 IDF soldiers killed in southern Syria yesterday.
Larry, are they preparing a war? Is that a sign of war between Israel and Iran, in your opinion? Because, go ahead.
Well, no, look, the only thing, the biggest fear that I have is that Israel will decide to use attempt to use a nuclear weapon or two in Iran. And again, that will not end the threat nor the problem as Israel sees it, because Israel doesn't have enough capability to wipe out all of Iran. It does have the ability, it can wipe out certain sites, kill a large number of people, but that then leaves Iran in a position where it can retaliate. And when it retaliates, it will devastate Israel. I mean, it's really, it would be a suicidal act. Not to mention that such an act like that would finally compel, I think, even Pakistan to use its nuclear weapons against Israel. If you notice that Pakistan and Iran are coming closer together, they're having much more cooperation these days. So, so far, the threat of attacking Iran has been, I think, it's on the wish list for the Israelis, much like a child's wish list to get a pony for Christmas. They'd love to have it, but the chances of them actually getting what they want, I think, is very, very slim. They're going to just continue with this. They'll use Iran as an excuse to justify their continued genocide against the Palestinians. But we're at a stage where, despite their constant threat that they're going to attack, I think there's still a few military professionals within the IDF who recognize, and in the intelligence community who recognize this. We'll be signing our own death warrant as a country. Israel, a war with Iran means the likelihood that Israel as a state will cease to exist.
The only thing I would throw into that is that the state of Israel is going to cease to exist.
Yeah.
The Jewish state of Israel is finished. And Bibi is the last person you want to have in charge when that realization lights upon his brain.
Carl, we had the supreme leader of Iran for the first time addressing the war between Iran and Israel, 12-day war. He said that they came, they did what they intended to do, they achieved nothing, and they just they finished the operation. How? Because right now, in my opinion,
this is Israel.
He said about Israel and the United States, they attacked us. They did whatever they wanted to do, but they couldn't give anything.
Who is this? Rachi?
Supreme leader of Iran said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he said that he's not prepared. He's not interested in negotiating with Donald Trump. He said there is no point in negotiating with Donald Trump and his administration. They're not capable of negotiating. They're not serious in the way they're behaving.
Then the Iranians are finally waking up and smelling the roses.
Yep.
They understand just how perfidious the empire is. I agree with them. I wouldn't negotiate with us again under any circumstances, probably, other than, I'm got the Ayatollah down with a straight razor to his neck. Then I might negotiate. Otherwise, I wouldn't negotiate with the empire. I wouldn't negotiate with the empire if I were anyone in the world today, because we are the most duplicitous entity on the face of the earth. And it's not just Trump. It's been happening since 9/11. It was magnified by Blinken and Sullivan and Biden, and then Trump just kind of took over the already well magnified perfidy of the empire. I don't know how you get out of it if you're the Iranians, though. They're plagued right now with, as you know, with a massive drought in the southern part of the country. Probably not even enough water to drink for everybody. No real solution to it, and nobody helping them with it. There should be people helping them with that situation. Least of all, or most of all, should be us helping them with it. Just like we're not helping other people in the world, like Cuba with the victims of Melissa. I don't know what to say. I think they're going to attack. I disagree with Larry on that. I think they're going to attack Iran. I think Israel is going to attack Iran. I don't think Bibi, unless Bibi gets unseated. If Bibi does get unseated between now and Christmas, or whatever, then maybe there could be a different course for Israel. But as long as Bibi's there, he's got to take action against Iran. He's made the promise too many times. He's talked about it too much. He can't get out of that now. He's got to take Iran down. And I think the word is out in Israel, even amongst the average person on the street, of how badly Iran shellacked Israel in the beautiful war, the 12 days. Might not be to the depth and breadth that it would be if it were realistic, but at least the average Jewish citizen of the state of Israel understands that they didn't do too well.
Larry, do you want to add something before wrapping up?
The key in this will be the United States. If Trump makes good on his threats, what's reported that he's going to get rid of Susie Wiles, Pam Bondi, he may be realizing that his pro-Israeli stance has hurt him, and he's going to try to come back towards the middle. But barring that, we could be, we're in for a rough 2026.
Yeah.
There's so many issues that are just what Larry said. I mean, the empire may be diminishing, but it still is key to a lot of the problems in the world today. And if Trump were to suddenly see the light, so to speak, it could make a lot of difference.
Yeah.